patienter quelques instants, s'il vous plaît.
Now we are going to begin 2020 World Peace Media Conference. Thank you for your attendance. I'm a moderator, Kim Kyo-hun. Thank you.
세계 평화 언론대회 말 그대로 전 세계에 있는 언론인들, 언론사가 이 자리에 함께하고 있습니다.
Journalists, about 500 journalists from around the world are convened here. I'm not a reporter, but I'm an announcer and MC, and as a member of the journalists, I am proud to become a moderator for this conference. I was a bit concerned because of the coronavirus and flu that is rampant in the United States. And I thought that this conference would be canceled. Some of you may have been concerned as well. And we are on the front line of the media, and we are pressing ahead with the schedule, and I'm so happy to be with you. Nobody's wearing a mask. Some of you are. I think you are very brave journalists. And I think you will be able to share the knowledge and information with the people around the world. We are convening this conference with the aim of fulfilling the role as an honest broker of information. The journalists, we are here with an historic mission, and we pledge that we are playing a right role as a journalist. On that note, I'd like to show you the commemorative video. Please take a look.
The planet Earth is home to all of humankind. Climate disasters, economic inequality, terrorism and war. Today, as efforts for world peace reach across the globe, we have stood as advocates for freedom, responsibility, and ethical conduct in the media. For more than 40 years, World Media Conference. Now, still leading the way towards world peace, the World Media Conference has been rebranded as a renewed beacon of hope. International Media Association for Peace. Leading the work for world peace. Launch ceremony for the International Media Association for Peace. Recognizing the responsibility of the media in this era, the World Media Conference has been leading the way towards world peace. Since its first conference in October 1978, the Media Conference has taken to heart the social responsibility of the media in our time and established itself as a gathering of journalists advocating for world peace.
More than ever before, the pen is mightier than the sword. I have always believed that the media must be free, and that free press must also be a responsible press. And a responsible press is a moral press. What do you mean by a moral media? A moral media is society's conscience.
In particular, when the world was facing the crisis of the Cold War in the second half of the 20th century, the World Media Conference headed to Moscow. And from the heart of the communist world, we proudly proclaimed the importance of the freedom and responsibility of the press. After that, we met with Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev. And North Korean leader Kim Il-sung. We have embraced our role in providing vision and leadership for a new history. As we move closer to the realization of a world of peace, the media conference is changing to serve this new age while maintaining the integrity of our history and tradition. In the digital age, with the fourth industrial revolution, we are thinking about innovations in the mission of the media. Today, the Media Association is thinking about the problems of our time and the next generation, exploring the media innovations that shape this new digital era, and considering how this will affect the next generation of journalism, seeking to foster a social culture that will support and enhance the beauty of humanity. We are presenting a new agenda to lead society in the next generation. The International Media Association for Peace is a global network. A worldwide network connecting journalists in 194 nations across the globe with a 40-year history of cooperation. Moving forward, we will work in solidarity to write a new history of world peace. Marching towards interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values. Every step of the way, the International Media Association for Peace will be there. The march of history brings threats and challenges. Showing the way in this new age, 40 years of guiding the media in its mission. The challenge we face now is to write a new history of hope and peace.
오늘날의 세계는 200여 개국이 있습니다마는 많은 나라들이 생존의 위협을 받고 있습니다. 큰 나라도 마찬가지입니다.
We are facing a lot of challenges. Neither the large countries nor the small ones cannot survive on their own. We must live together to ensure a bright future.
To take another leap forward, to secure a new history and a culture of peace. The Media Association is moving without hesitation toward a heavenly unified Korea and a world of peace. We will build the connection to a future of hope. The path we are walking will become a path of true and lasting peace as we focus on the fundamental nature and mission of journalism. We are the International Media Association for Peace. International Media Association for Peace.
네, 박수 한번 부탁드리겠습니다. 제가 부탁드리기 전에 박수가 이제 절로 나왔습니다. 정말 이 대회 취지.
Let's give a big round of applause. I think it's a video that well shows the intent and purpose of our conference. We have so many journalists attending.
이 시간에는 그분들 중에서 몇
And I'd like to introduce some of them who have come to congratulate this occasion. Because of time limit, I don't think I can introduce all of them. I apologize for that. First, let me introduce Mr. Lee Byung-gyu, Chairman of the Korea Association of Newspapers. Would you please welcome him with a big round of applause? Mr. Park Yang-woo, Minister of the Tourism and the Sports and Culture. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Mr. Park Won-sun, Mayor of Seoul City. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Clifford Stones, the former Congressman of the United States. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
클리포드 스턴스,
Clifford Stones.
클리포드 스턴스를 다시 한번 소개해드리겠습니다.
Introduce him again. Would you please welcome him with a big round of applause?
신재원
신재원
부사장께서
Vice Chair Vice President of the Hyundai Motors. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
정원주 총재 비서실장께서 오셨습니다.
The Chief of Staff of the Secretariat. Please welcome him with a big round of
윤영호
applause.
세계평화통일 가정연합 세계본부 사무총장께서 함께
윤영호, the Secretary General of the World Peace Federation. And Moon
천주평화연합 한국의장께서 함께하고 계십니다.
the Chairman Korea of the UPF. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. 문훈수,
여성연합 세계회장께서 함께하고 계십니다.
the Chairman of the World Peace Federation for Women and Peace.
글로벌 통일재단 이사장
Kim Jong-un, would you please welcome him with a big round of applause.
이기성 신한국 가정연합 한국회장께서
이기성, the Chairman of Korea UPF. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Thomas Walsh, Chairman Thomas Walsh, Chairman of UPF World. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
그리고 본행사를 공동 주최하고 계십니다. 그루키마 사이로
And co-organizer, Krokna Sairos, the President of Sekai Nippo. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
탐 메드니 워싱턴
Tom McDavid,
소개해드리겠습니다.
the Chairman of the Washington Times. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
윤정로
Yoon Jong-no,
부회장께서
the Vice Chairman of the Segye Times. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. 정희택,
사장님을
the
소개해드리겠습니다.
President of Segye Times. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
자, 이렇게 소개해드린 분들 외에도 동맹으로 기관
We have other dignitaries and special guests. I'm sorry that I cannot introduce all of you. My apologies.
더불어서 아까도 말씀드렸던 지금 상황이 녹록치 않은데도 불구하고
And the situation is not easy, but we have this capacity crowd here.
자축의 박수 한번
Let us applaud ourselves for this occasion. Thank you very much.
네, 자 그러면은 먼저 토마스 월시
Now we'd like to invite the Chairman Thomas Walsh of UPF for welcoming address. Would you please welcome him with a big round of applause?
Donc c'est le Dr Thomas Walsh, le président de la FPU, qui est sur scène en ce moment, qui va donner son
안녕하십니까?
Annyeonghasimnika,
Good
donc
morning.
bonjour en coréen.
It's an honor, it's a privilege
C'est
to
un
be here.
honneur,
To watch that video is very
vidéo
uplifting and inspiring. I've had the opportunity to be associated with the Washington Times for many decades, and I'm honored to be serving on the board of directors along with Chairman McDivitt. I'm delighted to see Mayor Park again, and honored that you've joined us. I only want to add a word of welcome and congratulations on behalf of the World Summit 2020, which will be taking place in many venues throughout Seoul and particularly at the Kintex Convention Center. We've got 3,000 guests coming from all over the world. This media component is very, very central. We're delighted to see this really revival of the Media Association, and you'll hear more about the proposal to build an international media association for peace that we heard mentioned in the video. And we look forward to collaborating together and truly applying our experience, our wisdom, our skill, particularly in the sphere of the media, sometimes called the fourth estate and the fifth estate, how to apply that, as we heard in the video, to be the conscience of society and to build a better world, to bring about a world of enduring and lasting peace. Please let that be my message this morning. I'm so pleased that you've gathered here, and I hope and pray your deliberations are fruitful and productive, and I hope we have a chance to meet and talk together over the course of the coming days. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
네, 토마스 월시
Thank you.
UPF께서
That was Chairman Thomas Walsh of UPF.
자, 이어서 이번에는
Now I'd like to invite the President Chang Il-taek of Segye Times. Will you please welcome him with a big round of applause? morning, everybody. First of all, I'd like to extend my profound welcome to all the journalists from America, Europe, and as far as Africa, as well as Asia. I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Lee Byung-gyu, Chairman of the Korean Association of Newspapers, His Excellency Park Yang-woo, Minister of Culture, Sports and Tourism, and Mayor Park Won-soon of Seoul City. This conference, co-organized by the Segye Times, Washington Times, and Sekai Nippo, is an occasion where we discuss the role and mission of journalism for world peace, as we just saw in the video. As one of the journalists, I am astounded by the speed at which the media environment is changing at the expense of the weight of media. An abundance of information is spreading at the speed of light through the internet and the mobiles. How wonderful it would be if this body of information brings peace and reconciliation to humanity. But more often than not, it is spreading the seeds of conflict and mistrust between people and nations. Under the circumstances, I think everybody here would agree that the role and responsibility of media is all the more important. Reverend Moon Sun-myung and Dr. Han Moon, who established the Segye Times, Washington Times, and Sekai Nippo, stressed the role of journalists more than anybody else and realized the values of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. They emphasized that the media is playing a crucial role in bringing either peace or war. The World Peace Media Conference, since its inauguration in 1978, has repeatedly proclaimed the message of freedom of press and peace. We believe that media should form the public opinion on the front line and play a role of a guard for peace, overcoming conflict and violence. World Peace Media Conference has been contributing a lot to promote the role of media with the motto of freedom, responsibility, and morality of press. The World Media Conference has a long history. This year's conference is seeing the historic launch of International Media Association for Peace with the particular attention and support of Dr. Han Moon. We will address the issues of disruptive technical innovation and media innovation in the age of news media, in the age of new media, in this year's conference, as well as also grapple with the essence and the mission of journalism. The productive and creative discussion will lay a firm foundation for a sustainable and peaceful world in the future. My fellow journalists from home and abroad, we journalists should take the lead in realizing the ideal world of human family in the age of global village, marshaling the wisdom of all people desiring peace. Anchored in the International Media Association for Peace launched today, I hope the solidarity and friendship of journalists will contribute to establishing and spreading freedom and responsibility and true values of media. I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to Vice President Shin Jae-won of Hyundai Motors, who will make presentations on urban air mobility that attracted attention in the recent CES, Consumer Electronics Show. Let me close my welcoming address by once again conveying my deep appreciation to all the journalists and distinguished guests from home and abroad who are gracing this inauguration of IMAP with their presence. Thank you very much. That was the welcoming address of President of Segye Times, Chung Hee-taek. He stressed the role and mission of journalists. Now we are going to hear the welcoming address from Tom McBurdick, the chairman of Washington Times. Would you please welcome him with a big round of applause?
Washington Times qui vient sur scène pour donner son discours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, all of our dignitaries, all of our leadership here. Thank you, President Chung, for that superior presentation. I think you should give a seminar on how to do PowerPoint or keynote presentations. This is a significant week, and it's based on the number 100 for all of those journalists who want to get to the essence of the matter. The reason we're all coming together this week is to celebrate a century of human endeavor that's been guided by God, and that is in the life and work of the Reverend Dr. Myung Moon and his beloved wife, Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon. The second number is 60. That's the 60th anniversary of their wedding back in 1960. So we're beginning the year 2020, and to celebrate that centenary, we have a whole week of incredible events. This group constitutes 500 media who are going to reach billions of people with your reporting. So I encourage all of you to get to the essence of the matter. Look for what's really going on behind the scenes. We have remarkable speakers all week. Today, we're so proud together as journalists and media executives to be the first event of this whole centenary celebration. I think that's a great omen, a great sign. Dr. Moon, Hak Ja-han Moon, 4 years ago, launched the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace when it was just an idea. Now it's over 5,000 incumbent members of parliament from about 160 countries that are beginning to work together to effect change. Imagine 1 year from now if we had 10 times the number of journalists, or 3 years from now if there were 15 or 20,000 journalists from all ages and all countries in the world who cared about making a difference, applying the excellence in their craft of journalism. We can truly make a difference. And thank all of you for taking the time to come to this program. You are the leadership. You are the subject matter experts in that regard. We're going to be covering, as Dr. Chung pointed out, several topics of critical nature: the mission of journalism, disruptive innovation, and most important, the call for a new type of association. We are all smart, we're all capable. Think of what it would mean if we link things together to move great content to the people of the world. Thank you so much for participating. May you have a wonderful conference, and let's work together as we have constituted now the International Media Association for Peace. And a word of special thanks to Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon for her superior leadership and vision to bring us all together. Thank you, and God bless you.
네, 워싱턴 타임스의 탐 맥데빗 회장께서
We just heard from Mr. McDavid from Washington Times.
발전하고 있는 이 세계 평화
So
대회에 대한
today's event, International Media Association for Peace Inauguration, has a significance.
자,
We
이번에는요, 또
emphasize
하나의
the
공동
importance
주최사죠.
of this
일본 세카이
event.
니포
And now
무로키
we are
마사히로
going to
사장께서
invite
환영사를
the
해주시겠습니다. 역시 큰 박수로
president
모시겠습니다.
from Sekai Nippo, Masahiro Kuroki. Please welcome him with a big hands.
Good morning. 안녕하십니까?
안녕하십니까? bonjour.
Welcome to 2020 World for Peace Media Conference. As you know, the world is shaken by the spread of a new type of coronavirus. Because of this abrupt development, we have been facing various challenges in global tourism as well as in our daily lives. Therefore, I would like to salute your courageous spirit of journalism, as all of you have come to this gathering in spite of many obstacles in order to tackle important agenda of this day. I believe this conference will become a great opportunity for us, media people, to discuss about our roles in tackling crucial issues of our time, not only on the emerging health problem, but other vital issues such as the U.S.-China relations, the North Korea's nuclear and missile development, as well as the new Middle East peace plan proposed by President Trump. Owing to the remarkable progress in internet technology, the very trust and roles of the conventional media are being examined. We need to re-evaluate seriously this current state and operating manners of media as a whole. In this respect, I am convinced that the launching of the International Media Association for Peace, or IMAP, will become crucially important. The founder of our media institution, late Dr. Myung Moon and Dr. Han Moon, have constantly emphasized as follows: in order for media to guide the world in fair and just manners, we, the media professionals, should be guided by heaven's wisdom and religion's moral leadership. This is all the more true as we have come to death then in facing many difficult issues by means of human capacities alone. We need to exert intellectual power of journalism, which relies on heaven's intervention beyond the human intellectual powers as demonstrated in the three branches of government. Once again, let me express my sincere gratitude for convening this conference. We hope this event will enhance our exchange of ideas and improve media's contribution to promoting an environment for global peace. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
일본 세카이 니포 무로키 마사히로 사장께서 역시
speech, welcoming speech from the chairman of the Sekai Nippo.
이번에는 세 분의 축사를 좀.
Now it's time for the congratulatory remarks.
이병규 회장께서 축사를
We're going to hear first from the Lee Byung-gyu, the chairman of the Korean Association for Newspapers. Would you please welcome him with a big round of applause? First of all, let me extend my sincere welcome to all the distinguished guests and journalists from home and abroad who are attending the 2020 World Peace Media Conference. I would like to convey my congratulations to Chairman Thomas Walsh of Universal Peace Federation, President Chung Il-taek of Segye Times, Chairman Thomas McDavid of Washington Times, and President Masahiro Fukuoki of Sekai Nippo, and those concerned. This year marks the centennial of Reverend Moon Sun-myung. Reverend Moon Sun-myung and Dr. Hakja Han-moon, who established World Peace Media Conference in 1978, have paid special attention to the role of media in protecting liberal democracy and its mission for world peace. In order to advance these goals, the World Media Conference has been held about 20 times in major cities around the world, including New York, London, Tokyo, and Moscow, addressing the international issues such as peace on the Korean Peninsula, peace in Northeast Asia, resolution of conflict in the global village, thereby emerging as an influential event in the international community. The World Peace Media Conference held in Moscow in April 1990 is widely considered to have contributed to relaxation of tension between East and West in the age of Cold Age, and to have led to the opening and the reform of the former Soviet Union. My fellow journalists, the world peace is being threatened by a series of conflicts and confrontation around the world this year as well. The United States and Iran are on the way to escalation of tension in the Middle East, which is called the tinderbox. The rift between China and Hong Kong is intensifying. In addition, arms race, trade war, religious conflicts, territorial disputes, and terrors are constantly afflicting the world community. And as the North Korea-US summit talks on nuclear renunciation is facing stalemate, Korean Peninsula is again veering away from peace. As peace faces more threats, the role of media becomes more important. That's why journalists should come together to come up with common solutions. I hope that with the experience and knowledge accumulated, you will be able to help gather the wisdom to cope with the challenges that we face. If we present a new vision and solution based on interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values, crisis will give way to opportunity, and the global village will become a better place to live in. Once again, my profound gratitude to Thomas Walsh, Chairman Thomas Walsh of WUPF, President Chung Il-taek of Segye Times, and Chairman McDavid of Washington Times, and President Masahiro Fukuoki of Sekai Nippo, and those concerned. In closing, I wish you and the World Peace Media Conference a resounding success. Thank you very much. There was the congratulatory remarks from the chairman of the Korean Association of Newspapers. Now we're going to hear congratulatory remarks from Mr. Park Yang-eun, Chairman, Minister of Culture, Sports and Tourism. Would you please welcome him with a big round of applause?
네, 여러분 반갑습니다.
Hello, everybody.
대한민국 문화체육관광부
I am Park Yang-hyo, Minister of Culture, Sports and Tourism of the Republic of Korea.
세계 평화 언론인 대회를 개최하게 된 것을 진심으로
Congratulations, first of all, on the opening of the World
이번
Peace
회의를
Media
준비하신
Conference.
세계일보
And I'd like
정희택
to
사장님을 비롯한
extend my gratitude to Chairman
노고에 대해서도
President
깊은
Chung Hee-taek of Segye Times and other
전 세계에서
dignitaries
오신
as well.
언론인 여러분,
My journalists from home and
미디어를 담당하는
abroad.
장관으로서
As Minister in charge of media,
관광을
culture and sports
담당하는 장관으로서
and
온
tourism,
마음을 다해서 여러분을
I
환영합니다.
welcome all of you from
이번
the bottom of my
대회에서는
heart.
아시아,
The
유럽,
conference
미국은 물론
will be represented
멀리
by
아프리카에서
journalists from
참석하신
Asia, Africa,
언론인들이
America,
함께 모여
and
인류의
other parts of
보편적
the
가치,
world to
평화에
address the issue
대해서
of peace, universal value of humanity, in depth.
특히 세계 유일의 분단 국가인 한반도에서 전 세계
We are holding this
언론인들이
conference in
평화를
Korean
위한
Peninsula,
언론의
which is
역할에
the only
대해서
divided country in the world. It is meaningful
매우 뜻깊은 일이라고
to have this occasion, to have this event
대한민국은
in Korea.
예로부터
The Republic of Korea
사랑해온
traditionally has loved
민족입니다.
peace.
이 분단의
We
땅
are peace-living
한반도가
people.
평화의 땅이 될 수 있도록
We hope
언론인 여러분의
that you will play a role to turn this land of division into the land of
이곳에서
harmony and
퍼져나간
reconciliation.
평화와 화합의 메시지가
The message of
전 세계
hope,
독자들에게
peace,
큰 공감으로
and reconciliation
마음을
will resonate with the rest of the world.
최근 미디어 환경은
The media
변하고 있습니다.
atmosphere
전
is
세계에서
changing
벌어지는
rapidly.
수많은 현안과 사건들이
The issues and events
국경과
around the world
언어의
are
장벽을 넘어
spreading
실시간으로
the world
전달되고 있습니다.
with transcending the border,
언론 매체를 통해서
real time.
개별 국가의 문제들도 전 지구적 가치들과
Small little things happening in the
연결되는
corners of the world is being known to all
2013년
the members of the community. Thomas Friedman said that the world is flat.
이제
He,
세상은
in his book,
평평함을 넘어서서
the world is no longer flat,
공간이
it transcends time and space.
또한 정보기술의 발전과
With the development of information technology and media technology,
유튜브,
the
포털
paper media
다양한 형태의 뉴스
is giving way to digital media.
많은 독자들이 이들을 통해 다양한 정보를
Subscribers,
얻을 수 있게 됐습니다.
readers can have access to information through this digital media.
사실이 아닌 허위 조작 정보와
But not only correct
사실을
information, but
의도적으로
also
왜곡하는
wrong information
악의적인 가짜 뉴스 또한
is spreading at the same time.
아마추어인 독자들이 과거 전문 언론인들이 생산해내던 뉴스와
The
다양한
untrained
정보를
readers may
생산하는
be
시대가
fooled
이미 되었습니다.
by the production of this untrue,
이러한 환경
false
변화는
news.
언론과
This
언론인들에게
change in media environment is a
새로운
threat,
기회가 될 것입니다.
and also it represents an
국민의
opportunity
세상을 바라보는 창으로서
for journalists.
신뢰할 수 있는 언론의 역할이
We should
그만큼
think
더
about our role
중요해졌기
as a window of information to the people.
극단적인 진영 논리와 갈등을 극복하고
We should overcome
사회의
the
건전한
ideology
발전과
of
통합,
partisanship.
그리고 정의를 실현하기 위한
Instead, we should
언론의
promote
가치가
harmony
재조명돼야
and justice.
존경하는 언론인 여러분,
My fellow
언론
journalists,
자유의 증진,
promotion of freedom
공정성과
of press,
신뢰성의 확보,
securing
언론 산업의
the
위기
reliability,
극복 등
and
언론
overcoming
앞에 놓인
the
도전은
declining media
여전히
industry,
만만치
these are the challenges we face.
파괴적 미디어 혁신과
Disruptive media
저널리즘의 도전
innovation
과제라는 주제로 펼쳐지는 이번
is the
대회에서
theme of this
언론의
conference,
책임과
and we should
과제를 성찰하는
take this
뜻깊은
opportunity
논의라고
as an occasion to
지금까지
address these issues.
그래 오셨던 것처럼
As we have been doing so
민의를
far,
대변하고
we should do our best to represent
평화의
the
가치를
will of the
수호하는
people and to protect
언론인이라는 자부심과
the value
사명감을 가지고
of democracy
사회
and
정의를
peace.
실현하는 데 앞장서 주시는
I hope
것을
that you will
기대합니다.
be in the forefront of
제 말을
protecting these
마무리하겠습니다.
values.
다시 한번
In
세계 평화
closing,
언론인 대회
I'd like
개최를
to
축하드리며
wish
참석하신
you
모든 분들의
all the success
건강과
and health.
기원합니다. 고맙습니다.
Thank you very much.
문화체육관광부 박양우
That was
장관께서 축사를
Mr. Park
해주셨습니다.
Minister of Culture,
감사합니다.
Sports and Tourism.
자, 이어서 서울특별시
Now we'd like to
박원순
invite
시장께서 축사를
Mayor of Seoul,
해주시겠습니다. 큰
Park
박수로
Won-sun. Would you please
모시겠습니다.
welcome him with a big round of applause?
이곳 서울까지 귀한 발걸음을 해주신 언론인 여러분.
Let me begin by welcoming all of you to Seoul.
2020 세계 평화 언론 대회 개막을 진심으로.
I congratulate you on the opening of the World Peace
갑작스런
Media
신종
Conference.
코로나 바이러스 감염증 사태로 혼란스러운 상황이
Despite the confusion
많은 언론인
caused
여러분께서
by the eruption of the virus, you are attending this
세계
conference
평화 언론 대회에
with enthusiasm,
보여주는 듯합니다.
demonstrating your
귀한 자리를
passion and
마련해
devotion.
토마스
I'd like to take this opportunity to express my thanks to the Thomas Walsh, Chairman of UPF, Jenny Tech, the President of Segye Times, and the Sekai Nippo Chairman, Masahiro Kuroki, and the Chairman McDavid of Washington Times.
박영우 장관님, 이병규 신문회장님.
And also my thanks goes to
원래 세계 평화 언론 대회가
Chairman Lee Byung-gyu
미디어의
and Minister
혁신과
Park Yang-yu.
언론 기능에 대해서 논의하는 자리라고 들었습니다.
I heard that we are going to discuss the role of media and
평화를
innovation of
지키는 데
media.
있어서 진실보다 강한
Nothing is more
방어막은 없습니다.
powerful defense
진실을
than truth in
기록하고
preserving
전달하는
peace.
펜보다 강한
Nothing is mightier
흔히
than
평화의
pen.
존재감은 위기의 순간에 가장
Peace
빛난다고
is
말합니다.
felt most intensely in the time of crisis.
신종 바이러스가
As they say,
세상을
the
어지럽게
new coronavirus is
그 못지않게
threatening the
불안과
entire humanity.
공포를 부추기는 무분별한 정보와 가짜
And
뉴스가
information
우리의 마음을
instigating
어지럽게
fear is also affecting
혼란과
us
혐오로 사람
with
사이를
confusion and hatred.
역설적으로 정도를
Paradoxically,
넘는 저널리즘이 우리에게 얼마나
we
중요한지
understand,
깨닫게
we realize how
해주고 있습니다.
important it is to have right
이곳저곳에서
journalism.
언론과 미디어의 위기를 말하지만
We're talking about the crisis
불안과
of
염려,
media
근심과
today,
절망 사이에서 진실의
but
밑돌이
I'm sure that the media
공정의
is trying to
주축들이
play
되는 언론을
a
무엇으로도
positive role
대체할 수 없다고 생각합니다. 오늘
to
2020
set
세계
the
평화
record
언론
straight
대회가
and lead
미디어의
us
혁신,
to the
언론의
development and
미래를 논하는
prosperity.
동시에 시대의
The media
믿음을
conference today
지탱하는 언론,
will serve as an
언론인의
opportunity
자부심을
for us to remind ourselves of our responsibility and mission as journalists.
끝으로
In
평화를
closing,
키워드로 한 서울시의 담대한 제안을 소개하고
I'd like to
각별한
introduce
관심과 당부를
our
드리면서
grand vision
사를 마무리하고자 합니다. 얼마
for
전
peace.
저는 미국
Some time
외교회에서
ago, I was
평화를 향한 서울의
invited
전진이라는 제목으로
to make an address in New York
남북
with
정상이
the theme of
합의한
March Toward Peace
2032년 서울 평양 공동 올림픽 유치를 위해서
to host the joint
2022년
Olympic in
북경 동계 올림픽
2032.
기간까지 한반도
And
일대
we decided
군사
to make
훈련을 포함해서
an
일체
effort
긴장 고조와
to
적대 행위를
pave the way for the Olympic Games.
중단하자는
And we
제안이었습니다.
we recommended the
특히 언론인들의 관심과
suspension of all the
매우
military
중요합니다.
drills on the
세계
Korean
평화 언론
Peninsula.
대회에서
And in that
서울
respect,
평양
the role and
공동
cooperation of
올림픽이
media is very
평화의
important.
축제로 치르기 위한 보다 폭넓은
We
논의를
hope that
해주시면
you
좋겠습니다.
will have more
평화를
in-depth
향한
discussion
서울의
on this project
함께해 주시기를
for peace on the Korean Peninsula.
그리고
I ask for your joint cooperation, and I wish all of you health and happiness during your stay in Seoul. Thank you very much.
네, 서울특별시 박원순
That was
시장께서
the welcoming
축사를
address from
해주셨습니다.
the Park Won-sun, Mayor
자,
of
이렇게
Seoul.
환영사를 해주신 네 분, 그리고 축사를 해주신 세 분, 정말 오늘
We have
좋은 말씀을
heard the
해주셨습니다.
congratulatory
이 모든
remarks
분들에게
as
다시
well
한번
as
감사의 박수
welcoming remarks.
부탁드리겠습니다.
Would you please give them a big round of applause one
자,
more
아무쪼록
time?
모든 분들이 함께 얘기하신 것이 바로
Now
평화.
everybody is talking about the theme of peace and the role of media,
자긍심,
the self-pride.
단어들이 나왔습니다. 아무쪼록 똑같은 말씀이 계속 나오시는 것 같아요.
We are
정확하게,
constantly
그러면서
hearing the
빠르면서
theme
신속한 이런
of
보도를
the role of
통해서,
media,
세계
fast
모든
and correct
사람들에게 올바로
the coverage of news
좀
I
더
hope that
신경
will be
써주시길
the rule
자,
order of the
이번에는
day.
이 행사를 축하하는 드론 공연이
Now we are going to have the opportunity to see the drone performance,
축하 공연을
which will congratulate this occasion.
사람이 나와서
Usually, people come to the stage for performance, but this time, drones will appear on the stage as part of our event for commemoration and congratulation. Drones are usually used for conveying and moving things. In the age of Fourth Industrial Revolution, the drone is one of the key ingredients of Fourth Industrial Revolution. Segye Times in 2018 opened the drone fishing day in 2018. It was the largest ever fishing event by drone and has been certified as such by the Korean Record Institute. And I was the moderator for the event.
그래서 아주 머릿속에 박혀 있네요.
And I'm well aware of that event.
드론으로 낚시를 한다는 이 발상 전환이 아주 멋지.
I was really astounded by the idea of drone fishing.
드론의 축하 공연.
And I'm sure we will also in for surprise today. Will you please welcome this drone performance?
드론 공연을 시작하겠습니다. 자, 먼저 4차 산업혁명을 선도하는 첨단 기술의 총합체 드론이
This is
이륙을
the
하겠습니다.
culmination of drones which represent the Fourth Industrial Revolution.
네, 이제 8대의 드론이 이륙을 합니다.
Now, 8 drones will take off.
자, 전 세계 언론인이 이곳 서울에서 함께 어우러지는 모습을 형상화하고 있습니다.
This represents the harmony of journalists
인류의
in
세계 평화 구현을 기원하며 드론이
formation.
회전하고 있습니다.
It conveys the message of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values.
굉장히 정교하죠.
The movement is
드론
very
퍼포먼스는
accurate.
세계 평화 언론 대회가 전 세계 언론인들이 연대해 공생, 공영, 공의의 세계 실현을 위한 미디어 역할에 동참한다는 의미를 군부로 표현하고 있습니다.
In group dance, as part of the
지금
effort to
색깔도
participate.
바꿔가면서 아주 섬세하게 8대의 드론이 멋진 군무를 표현하고 있습니다.
And universal values.
자, 끝으로 대한민국을 방문해 주신 세계 언론인들을 향해 감사의 마음을 담은 하트 모양을 형상화하고
Now the
있습니다.
drones are forming the shape of heart, expressing the welcome to all the journalists for attending this conference.
네, 큰 박수 한번 부탁드리겠습니다.
Now celebrate with a big round of applause.
굉장히 좀 반어적인데요. 조용하면서도 굉장히 웅장한.
It was a silent as well as grandiose
자, 이렇게
performance.
이제 드론 기술도 굉장히
The drone technology is rapidly growing. These small little drones are coordinating with each
굉장히
other
세세하게 이런 여러 가지
and accurately describing the theme.
멋진 드론 공연을 함께 하셨고요. 자, 다음 순서에 앞서서 이번에는요 기념 촬영을 좀
Now we're going to have the commemorative photo session.
주최사 대표님들 그리고 정원주 비서실장님, 윤영호
The chief of secretary,
문숙 회장님,
Mununsu, Chairman Mununsu,
이성 회장님,
all the dignitaries, please come forward.
축사를 해주신 분들 그리고
And those who have delivered the congratulatory remarks, panelists, presenters, please come forward for the photo session.
아까 축사를 해주신 분 세 분, 이병규 회장님,
Chairman Lee Byung-gyu, Minister Park Yang-woo, Mayor Park Won-sun,
이하, 그리고 말씀드린 대로 발표자분들,
and the presenters
패널분들,
and panelists.
지금부터 제가 이제 발표를 해야 될 세션이 시작될 텐데요.
We're going to have the photo session before we hear the
그
presentations.
다음 순서로 넘어가도록 하겠습니다. 모두 앞쪽으로 좀 나와주십시오.
죄송해요.
네, 아마 사람이 많으셔서 두 줄로 서셔야 되는 것 같아요.
I think you should stand in two lines, two rows.
네. 아마 그 카메라와의 거리 때문에 그런 것 같습니다, 그죠? 카메라와의 거리가 너무 가까워서 무대 앞쪽이 무대 가운데로 이렇게 서는 걸로 하겠습니다. 지금 뭐 전 세계의 보도진 카메라가 이 자리에 뭐 많이 와 있기 때문에 이 사진이 이제 보도 자료로 활용이 되겠죠. 그래서 가장 중요한 사진이 될 것 같습니다.
This photo will be used for media release.
자, 지금 뒤에 분들이 안 보이시는데 얼굴이 다 보이셔야 되거든요. Please look at the camera. 자, 제가 if I count 1, 2, 3, please look at the camera and smile. Okay. 자, 1, 2, 3, smile. Smile. Don't be sad, smile. 자, 그 다음에는 엄지척 한번 해보겠습니다. Please, thumbs up. Thumbs up, thumbs up.
Now we're going to raise our thumbs up.
자, 1, 2, 3, thumbs up. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up, please.
자, 이번에는
Please give us a thumb up sign.
이긴다는 의미로 우리 한국 in Korean fight.
In a show of fighting spirit against the disease, coronavirus.
자, 1, 2, 3.
Let's say,
fighting. Way
say
to go.
fighting, way to go.
Against virus. 감사합니다.
Thank you very much.
박수 한번 치시죠. 예.
Okay, would you please give them a
박수
big round of
한번. 예,
applause?
박수 한번 치는 곳 촬영하겠습니다.
We're going to take the photo of you
됐죠?
clapping.
예, 감사합니다.
Thank you.
예, 자리로 돌아가 주시기
Would you
바랍니다.
please go back to your seats?
자, 이렇게 해서 저희가 또 의미 있는 기념 촬영을 먼저 했습니다. 네, 이런 기념 촬영이 있어야
Now we are done with the photo,
신문으로 이래서 보도가 되겠죠. 네, 지금 뭐 아까 말씀하신 대로
which will help
60개 이상 나라에서 500여 분 이상의 언론들이 함께하고
the
있습니다.
coverage, news coverage by the media around the world.
의미가 전파되지 않을까 이런 기대를 해 봅니다. 자, 이제 모두 자리로 돌아가서 앉아주시고요. 네, 모두 자리에 앉아주시기 부탁드리겠습니다.
Now please be seated.
자, 자, 일단 그리고 전체 여기 계신 분들 박수 한번 좀 쳐주시기 부탁드리겠습니다. 저희가 박수 한번 쳐주시면 저희가 또 보도 자료로
clap, please, so that we can take photos of you clapping.
되시죠? 자, okay, please give me a warm hand. Please, it's for photo, okay? Not for me. It's for photo. 감사합니다. 자, 이렇게 해서 이 화면도 저희가 보도자료로 활용하도록.
This photo will be released for media coverage. Now we are going to hear the keynote speech. First, we will invite the former Congressman Clifford Stearns from the United States. Would you please welcome him with a big round of applause?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm delighted to be here, to be with all of you today. And let me congratulate all of you for your attendance here for this very important summit. Obviously, this summit is designed to increase our understanding where journalism and the media is today and what we can do to reclaim and upgrade the mission of journalism for the 21st century, and to clarify the freedom and responsibility of the press for the future. Obviously, the establishment of the International Media Association for Peace, IMAT, is a great step forward, and I commend the founders for their foresight. I had the opportunity to read the IMAT resolution and feel it is concise, a great way to chronicle man's desire for peace, security, and obviously for human development. I also want to acknowledge the leadership of Dr. Han Moon and her late husband, Reverend Sun Myung Moon, for their clairvoyance. I say that because he had an extraordinary ability to perceive events into the future and to develop strategies to solve them. It is truly commendable on his part. I read the Washington Times every day in Washington, D.C., and I can't tell you how important this newspaper is. It provides insight that no other newspaper in Washington provides. From the balanced coverage of the Brexit issue in Britain to the continued turmoil in Iraq and Iran, the Times provides factual accounts and much-needed, insightful information. I often say, after reading the newspaper, I didn't know that. Why didn't I read about that elsewhere in another newspaper? I only wish the editors would come down to Central Florida and let me publish an edition of the Washington Times in Ocala, Florida. My colleagues, I work in a large public relations firm called APCO Worldwide. We have 32 locations around the world. Our company is involved with media and journalism activities in the Middle East, Asia, Africa, Europe, and America. And many of our clients ask us to help them in a crisis situation that involves the press. We also do a lot of corporate branding, helping our clients influence their market and basically target their customers. We have experience with Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Google search, and we use them daily in our ability to influence and target audiences around the world. I intend today to outline some of these techniques we use to give us that ability. I also want to share with you this morning some new technology in the telecommunication field that's going to revolutionize the platforms for the media and journalism. It's artificial intelligence as well as virtual and augmented reality. This future technology is about to occur. It's a big revolution. It will affect journalism and the media platform throughout the world. And it could be a disruptor, just as the smartphone has been for many of us. I'm past president of the United States Association of Former Members of Congress. I've gained insight in how to strengthen the effectiveness of the United States Congress as it carries out its constitutional duties. As former president, we promote a collaborative approach to policymaking. Our membership includes 100 senators and 450 House members. This collaborative approach is also useful in trying to effectuate good working relations with the press. I don't have to tell you what the onset of the internet has done and how media has changed. Between the availability of Twitter and Facebook, Instagram and Google search, a company now can get their message out without the mainstream media. Social media is less expensive and can be targeted. That's the key. In some respects, this has been a disruptive force, sometimes for good and sometimes for bad. Let me give you some examples of how social media and focus groups are used in research and tools are used to clarify our clients' challenges. Okay, let's see. Push the first one here. There you go. Good. What you see in front of you is a Twitter board to help understand the impact of Twitter. If you look at this presentation, to the left are the current presidential candidates, and a new person is Adam Schiff, who is a House Democrat prosecutor in the impeachment process. After the name of the individual is the current poll. This poll is done every week in the United States by Real Clear Media Politics. The next column shows the week-to-week trends, and after that is a number of likes from the total tweets. The last column shows the inertia, the trend from positive and negative tweet. Obviously, Twitter board is a very good gauge of engagement of the American citizens and also the notoriety of the candidate. The next slide wants to show how we use a variety of research tools to answer our clients' questions. They monitor the social media but try to answer the why and how that drives what people think, say, and feel. From this slide, you can see we do focus groups, digital analytics, phone and online surveys through a software program called Telescope. It's much like Reddit. We put it around to thousands of people and ask them online to give us their response to questions that we give them. The next slide is market reputation and how we go about fulfilling it. Once we do that, we go out in the field in the United States and do ongoing reputation monitoring across 14 markets and 6 audiences to find these answers. This last slide is very interesting. This is a proprietary product that APCO has called Media Landscape. In this slide, we look at the social media, print media, television media across the United States, in fact, across the world. The blue circles show op-eds, panels, and events that occur. The green circles show activity on the Hill or in Congress. The red is a negative press that's out there. And the others are dealing with some of the social media. So you can see in one presentation, you can get an idea of your company, how it's perceived in the marketplace. Based upon the slides, you can see the ways to communicate. I'll mention one other case that we had. A farm association ask us to help promote the branding for the eating of fruits and vegetables. Using Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, digital, radio, outdoor advertising, and print, we are to amplify this message to the millennials who felt, for some reason, the Farm Bureau felt they were not eating their fruits and vegetables. And we were successful. We changed the perception of eating fruits and vegetables. But in many social cases, it can be used for a negative. And that's where APCO steps in and we try to revert that negative perception. Let's talk about IMAP. What can be done? I think they can establish a code of conduct that is fair and credible, which has been mentioned in the presentations. The code could be distributed and posted on the internet and social media. Your International Association of Academians for Peace provide a platform for reference and comment on various egregious actions in the media, as well as to use the International Association of Parliamentarians to speak on the need for civility and, frankly, just respect for your opponents. I was chairman of several subcommittees in Congress that had jurisdiction over the Federal Trade Commission, which is responsible for internet privacy and much of the consumer protection in the social media. Also over the Federal Commerce Commission, the FCC, which has broad jurisdiction over broadcast media, much of the standards of the internet speed and broadcast transmissions, including the controversial argument for net neutrality, and you may have heard that very controversial issue. Many of the enforcement actions by these two regulatory agencies affect and apply on a global basis and frankly provide a paradigm for what IMAT may eventually adopt themselves. For example, should broadband internet be classified as a public utility? This was not done when the new FCC chairman put out a publication, quote, "Restoring Internet Freedom and Order," end quote. This would be a good publication for IMAT to look at. The FCC is involved with 5G infrastructure transition, robocalls, and next generation of TV standards. Now, under the previous Democrat FCC chairman, Mr. Wheeler, he positioned that broadband networks should be connected by analog to utilities, and that utilities should be made available to the public. In other words, the internet would be like a utility. Under Republican Chairman Pai, today that is no longer the case. Quasi-government control or public ownership has not always been a panacea. I mention these two agencies because they could be another resource for IMAT in efforts to bring continued freedom and responsibility to the press. These agencies should be monitored. In some case, IMAT should take positions on their final positions. Innovation and technology advancement are making it almost impossible to curtail some of the fake news, which brings into focus the need for an overarching association of members who endeavor to set standards and crusade for freedom of the press and social justice while maintaining integrity and collaborative values. My colleague, before I close, as I mentioned before, I want to bring your attention to this new technology that's going to transform the world. It's being promoted by Google, Microsoft, and Samsung, and could be a disruptor, much like the smartphone was. This slide shows the Google Glass. Perhaps many of you have seen it before. It's designed to merge your physical world with your digital life through a device similar to the Google Glass, which you can see on this screen. It's evolving into an earpiece, which you can see here. But the real evolution is occurring. It's going to become a contact lens. And this is a company that is working on this technology. With this new technology, you'll be able to connect programs through this device by simply your voice, your hand, head movements, shoulder movements, to open the internet and do everything you can do on a smartphone through physical prompts. You won't need a keyboard. You can imagine what this is going to do to transform our communication and the media presentation. There are billions of smartphones in this world. Augmented reality phones with artificial intelligence devices may surpass smartphones in the near future. Think about this. Holograms on this device with 5G speeds will allow you to go, as they say in Star Trek, to boldly go where no one has gone before. Let me close, my colleagues, by saying that IMAP can do no better service to humanity than publishing ethical standards, bringing to bear the need for accurate and responsible journalism and building regional associations of nations for peace, security, and human development. This is an incredible goal. I have a quote from Edward R. Murrow, a famous broadcast journalist and war correspondent and a pioneer in his field. Before I do, I want to show you one last slide. At APCO Worldwide, we have a client that is involved with developing this virtual and augmented reality, and it's xra.org is a website. This is the website which you might want to go on to follow it. The last slide is the quote by Edward R. Murrow. American traditions and the American ethic require us to be truthful, but the most important reason is that truth is the best propaganda and lies are the worst. To be persuasive, we must be believable. To be believable, we must be credible. To be credible, we must be truthful. It's as simple as that. I believe that sums up what IMAT is trying to do, and I praise them truly for their efforts. Thanks so much.
네, 먼저 클리포드 스턴스 미국 전 하원의원께서
That was the
기조연설을
keynote address from the Clifford Stearns, the former congressman of the United States. Now, the second keynote address will be delivered by Mr. Shin Jae-won, Vice President of Hyundai Motors. Would you please welcome him with a big round of applause?
Standing at the podium, so if you don't mind, I'll probably walk around a little bit. It's really great to be here. Thanks for a kind invitation. I realize, I heard there are over 500 people here, and I realize I probably am the only non-journalist in this room. So I'm fairly intimidated. But at the same time, pretty excited. So I have 14 minutes and 30 seconds, so I'll try to speed up. Why am I here? I don't know, actually, but I think I can guess that you guys are going to talk about disruptive technologies and how that disruptive innovation is going to affect your industrial sector, journalism. It's happening everywhere. So I'm going to talk about disruption in aviation and how that disruptive innovations are affecting every single industrial sector and society in general. So if you could put the chart first. We talked about fourth industrial revolution. It doesn't really matter in my view whether you use that word or something else, but I like to use 21st century innovation instead of a fourth industrial revolution, because this century we have seen so many diverse innovations that really don't fit in the traditional, the past three industrial revolutions. It's multiple, and it's concurrent, and it cannot be predictable. You cannot predict which one will come out next year and which one will come out 2 years from now. So I just listed just few there. And there's a common theme in all these new capabilities and new technologies. That is digital revolution, which started happening mid-century, 20th century, and that digital revolution has been accelerated at the speed that no one was expecting, and it starts spawning all these various amazing technologies. And there's another thing, that these technologies are coming together in the way that no one actually imagined. So that's why we are using disruption because some of these technologies are so rapidly expanding, and the effect is so great that it actually destroys or puts out the existing businesses with these new capabilities. You know, Sears, which was the department retail store, has filed a bankruptcy, and Amazon and then all the other online retail business put out the traditional brick and mortar companies. And then Netflix and that online streaming technology put out all these video rental places like Blockbuster. They don't exist anymore. So that's why we're using this very unfamiliar word called disruption in this technological revolution. Next, please. Oh, I'm sorry. I have the control here. Sorry about that. So revolution in aviation, much like that you are trying to address and you are trying to embrace these disruptive technologies. In aviation, we see the same thing. So traditionally, when you talk about aviation, you think of this long, round fuselage, and with the two wings sticking out and engines either mounted under the wings or somewhere. But we don't have to stick to that kind of design anymore, mainly because of the several disruptive technologies coming to aviation industry. One is, of course, electrification. So you don't need two giant gas turbine engines or 4 gas turbine engines to drive airplanes. You can locate many smaller electric motors and drive fans or propellers. So it changes the design, the conventional design completely. You don't have to rely on the previous design and try to improve that. And there are so many technologies like that, autonomy. Today, I don't want to scare you. This is not meant to scare anybody. The large commercial airline aircraft can take off automatically, cruise automatically, and land automatically. I actually sat in jumper seat one time from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to JFK in New York. The pilot didn't do anything. We were just yakking. We were just chatting. And the very last minute, the airplane had to be slowed down so that some other airplane can fit in there. So at the very last minute, he took the side stick. This was an Airbus airplane, so instead of yoke, there was a side stick. So he started flying. That was last probably 2 minutes. And when we landed, he joked to me that, Jay, I only flew this airplane to prove to you that I am actually certified a pilot. So automation is there, but when we say autonomy, it is at a different level. Automation is only able for humans to program and tell the machines that do exactly what we are telling you. But autonomy is now the machine learning and artificial intelligence and sensing. They can actually cope with unexpected, unprogrammed situations. And that's the difference, huge difference between automation and autonomy. So what's going to happen in aviation, which will happen to your industry as well, is totally different ways of doing things. And I'll show you some of the happenings or the developments in the aviation sector. Next, I gotta do that. Sorry. Back in early 2000, we started worrying about how do we bring back these military assets, Predators and Global Hawks, kind of a very sophisticated, really a lot of capability embedded in this urban, I should say, unmanned aerial systems, UAS. that was what we were worrying about, because these aircraft was supposed to fly in the same altitude with the same capability as manned airplanes. And we don't want to carry these important assets on the truck between Air Force bases or military bases. So we had to worry about how do we field and then integrate into national airspace. That was what we were worrying about, and NASA was working on that. And then about 10 years later, these drones, you just saw a drone show a few minutes ago. How big were they? I could probably put one of them in my hand, in my palm. The miniaturization of sensors and the development of software to control these small drones have become so prevalent and so advanced that imagine that doing things that those huge global hawks could do, that these drones cannot do exactly the same things that global hawks can do, but some of the main functions, sensing and avoid and kind of fly in harmony, as you saw in drone show, those are extremely difficult techniques. So those things are becoming available for these small drones. And as FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, predicts that this year, in the US alone, there could be 7 million drones. I showed the conventional airline airplanes. There are only about 26,000 airplanes around the world. So for those of you who travel and visited Seoul, you were riding one of those 26,000 airplanes. Compared to that number, very small number, to 7 million, or in any millions, we're talking completely different era. And they are all flying at low altitude, below 500 feet. And we never had any man-made flying objects in those low altitude. So we started worrying about how do we manage these drones safely and efficiently. So NASA started working on this new air traffic management system to control and manage these assets. So that's how fast, that's how rapidly the aviation is changing. In just 20 years, things that we have never expected. Now, I talked about large, very capable UAS to very small drones. And now people start thinking, wait a minute, all this electrification and autonomy can actually develop aircraft that will carry people and cargo in a very different way than conventional airlines can. And so people start thinking about how do we address this rapid urbanization and insufficient ground infrastructure. And I hope the visitors will not suffer the traffic problem in Seoul much, but you will probably see some of that. It's everywhere, right? I used to live in Washington, D.C. area, only 20 miles, less than 20 miles commute. It took 1 hour, solid 1 hour. And if there is an accident, if the Congressman, and you probably are very familiar with that situation. If there is an accident, hour and a half or 2 hours, you're done. So how do we address this? This is a global issue, and a new transportation system is needed, and the only way to address this traffic congestion and rapid urbanization is open up the sky. Open the sky. And we knew that for a long time, but we couldn't do it because there was no technology to support that. What you see there is a real picture in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And I'm not singling out São Paulo here. It's everywhere. Some 25 mega cities around the world, we see cars just everywhere. So my nephew lives in Silicon Valley, and they have a new word for the freeway there. It's a parking lot. So they call it parking lot rather than a highway or freeway. People ask me, well, we have helicopters. Why couldn't helicopters solve this problem? We could, but it's very noisy. So all those very developed countries actually banned the commercial operation of helicopters in city centers for carrying people and sort of augmenting the ground traffic. And the noise, you probably don't want these helicopters flying around and landing or take off behind your home. So this cannot be the way to do it. And because of that low volume and extremely limited operation, the operating cost is so high. So if you have $2,000 to spare to fly about 8 minutes from Manhattan to JFK, you still can get that service, but not me. I can't afford that. So that's why the world is going crazy in utilizing these new technologies. Can we actually solve this problem environmentally friendly and economically, so everybody, not just very rich people, the example I just used, but for general public, but augment and alleviate the ground traffic problem. So hence, urban air mobility market and community is sprawling up, and currently there are about over 200 companies, small, medium, large, startups and very traditional aviation bellwethers all around the world. They are working to open up this market. So Hyundai Motor Group also started this, and that's why I'm here. And I think this is very important. Okay, the monitor is flashing. So there are a lot of challenges. So I'm not trying to paint that this is a fantasy, and if we do this, everything will be taken care of. There are a lot of issues. That's to the left. The fatal accident rate in million departures. That's a real number, and the probability based on real accident data record. That's the probability number. So to break down, this is not a statistically meaningful way to say it, but what that means, if you fly once every day, starting tomorrow, the probability, I keep emphasizing probability, not the certainty, probability of you getting into fatal accident, you have to fly 13,000 years starting from tomorrow. So what that means is probability-wise, it's impossible, or near impossible for you to get into fatal accident by flying commercial airlines. So we built that. Industry, we built that through methodical ways to ensure the safety. And so safety is very important. Where do we need to fit? And then I talked about noise. We have to reduce at least 4 times as quiet as compared to the helicopter industry. So it's a daunting task. But electrification and advanced flight controls probably will allow us to get there in time. So my closing is, sorry to hurry up here, my closing is, this is environmentally friendly way and energy friendly way to alleviate and augment the ground traffic congestion that all these 25 or 30 or even 50 as time goes by, mega cities will face. So I think that's the kind of disruptive innovation that we're working in aviation. And the final comment is disruptive innovation, as you will be discussing this afternoon, will affect your industries in a significant way as it is affecting aviation industry. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
네, 신재원 현대자동차 부장님께서 비교 연설을 해주셨습니다. 감사를 드리겠고요. 자, 그럼 이제부터는 세계 평화언론대회 본행사죠.
So now we are going to go into presentation and discussion session. So for the first session, we are going to invite the moderator. After the first session, we are going to have a lunch break. For the first session, we are going to invite Executive Director, Editor rather, of Segye Times Jong-mi up to the stage. So we are going to arrange the stage, and after that we are going to invite the speakers. So I'm going to give microphone to moderator Hwang Jong-mi, Executive Editor of Segye Times. And after having this session, we are going to have a lunch break. After lunch, we are going to have a session 2 and session 3. So this is the program of today. So once the stage is ready, we are going to invite moderator and panelists for this first session. The topic of the first session is about state of the media industry and impact of disruptive innovation. So this is a topic of the first session. So under this topic, we are going to have an in-depth discussion. And I believe stage is ready. So today, across the world, we have the journalists to have in-depth discussion. We have a very meaningful occasion today. Once the stage is fully ready, we are going to invite moderator and panelists. So the stage is ready. So let me give my microphone to Executive Editor Hwang Jong-mi. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome moderator and panelists for this first session with a big round of applause.
네, 패널분들도 무대 위로 함께 해주시기 바랍니다.
So panelists, please come up to the stage. Panelists for the first session, please come up to the stage. So name tag is placed on the stage. So we are going to invite the panelists. So time is limited for this first session. So, well, let me briefly introduce myself. While introducing myself, panelists will come up to the stage. So I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Executive Editor Hwang Jong-mi of Segye Times. It's very nice to meet you in this occasion. So the Vice President talked about digital revolution. So the media industry actually will have created havoc from digital innovation. With the emergence of digital technology, the traditional media has created the challenges. Actually, leaders are leaving, and also we are experiencing great changes in media platform. This challenge is still going on. So rather than we only deliver our messages to readers, we should utilize these digital technologies in order to take one step closer to our readers. And also we should think about the ways of spreading meaningful and accurate the articles. And also we should have a close collaboration with advertisers. So in this session, we are going to have great discussions about the state of the media industry and impact of disruptive innovation. And I believe the role of media will continue down the road, but without innovation, we cannot maintain the value of the media industry. So innovation is crucial in this digital era. So we are going to have a discussion about this. So our first panelist is a well-known figure, Mr. Juan Seno. He is the great journalist indeed and president of Innovation Media Consulting Group. So he is a well-known figure in the media industry, and according to my understanding, he actually visited Korea several times. Good journalism is a good business. That is a kind of a motto of the Innovation Media Consulting, and I believe he is going to deliver insightful ideas about this today. So let's invite our first panelist, as we are going to allocate 20 minutes for him.
말씀에 주셔서 감사합니다. 저의 한국 발음이 좋지 않습니다. I'll continue in English because I believe that Korean was not that successful, but I did try. So, who am I? I am the president of Innovation Media Consulting. We write this book every year, Innovation in News Media. This is considered the Bible of innovation, the barometer for innovations in journalism, innovation in the business side of journalism, innovation as well in print and digital. We publish this on behalf of WANIFRA, which is the World Association of Newspapers based in Paris. We've been doing this for 22 years. This is now our 23rd edition. And we also published this book, Innovation in Media. This is more for the magazine industry. And we've been publishing this book for the World Association of Magazines and News, also magazine news media, which is based in London. It's called FIP. I brought about 40 copies of these books. I understand that they'll be distributed to the different regions, but all of you get a PDF of these books. So you may want to take some notes throughout this presentation, but you will get a PDF of each one of these books. So, in these books, we try to encapsulate every year the most successful media innovations going on around the world, based on 12 months of research and based also on our consulting experience globally. We worked here with Jung Nilbo. I've engaged with Chosu Nilbu, with the Korean Press Association as well. We have a good friendship. So we know your market, and I think a lot of the innovations I'm presenting here for you today are quite relevant. Who are we? We are basically a consultancy helping to turn around newspapers and news magazines. We've been doing this for 33 years. You know your company, you know your country. We do know the industry, and we keep track of it. And you will travel around the world today with me, seeing all these wonderful innovations. We try to disrupt disruption. There's a lot of mystery around what's happening with our world. We're here to decode that mystery, to share with you innovations that are really working, based on 3 criteria: reach, relevance, or revenue. All these innovations have to pass one of those tests. And we organize chaos, and we try to relaunch legacies of great newspapers like yours. These are some of our clients in the last 48, last 2 years really, and last 4 years, some of them. But overall, our slogan, as it was said a moment ago, is that good journalism is good business. And if it's not good business, it's not good journalism. And for you to promote and to have a free press, that press has to be profitable. If it's not profitable, if it doesn't publish without fear or favor, if it doesn't have a business logic behind it, it will never have independence, it will never have credibility, it will never have readers, it will never have the advertising that seeks those readers. And that virtuous circle of publishing, it's broken if that press does not make money. So I'm going to take you quickly through 14 business models. Again, they're in the book, which you're getting a PDF. And I'm going to focus particularly on the single most important innovation to succeed in the digital age today. Of all these 14, there is one
that everybody globally, in every country, from the States to Europe to here in Asia, everybody's pursuing this. And this is the migration from ad revenue to reader revenue in the digital world. If this year, a publisher here, if you're not charging for your digital content, you should not be in publishing, let alone journalism. It's game over. You will never make money on digital just based on display advertising. This business of getting volume and digital traffic and somehow the revenue would come is a false prophecy. And the way you can do this is through a data wall or a paywall, and this is the global trend. If you're not getting people to go through a data wall or through a paywall, it's game over. Again, you have no future in digital. And media built and dependent on display ad revenue, really, they're in very, very serious trouble, and they're quite vulnerable. And remember, for many years, we in legacy media, you in legacy media, were looking at this wonderful newcomers and thinking, oh, this is the future. Well, the pure players that were supposed to be the future, they're not that pure anymore. They're in big trouble. Mashable laying people off. Vice Media also laying people off with profit warnings. BuzzFeed, again, profit warnings in the last 2 quarters. Salon went belly up. The valuation of the Huffington Post, which are supposed to be the future journalism, also through the floor. So these people have built their business on display ad revenue. They cannot sustain their business. There is no future in this business model. Stop emulating it. Everything that generates value should generate revenue. We need to go back to basic principles, and this is a basic one for journalism. We generate value. We should have the courage and the attitude and the confidence to charge for it. If not, what's the point of the business? Are we in the propaganda business? Can we not get an audience to pay for our journalism? And this is now very interesting, because that has come at a time which I like to call the Netflix moment. Everybody here is subscribing to Netflix, or if not, you're paying for your children's Netflix. Everybody here is paying for a music subscription, whether it's Spotify or something else. And the data supports this. Everybody's paying now for digital content. A device, the mobile, that was free for many, many decades, now people understand that you have to pay for it. By the end of this year, in the average Western country, people will be paying for 4 subscriptions. One will be a newspaper of quality. Second will be a magazine. Of course, third will be a Netflix, and fourth will be a music subscription. And this is the forecast. And if you're not in that game, if you're not able to charge for that content, really, there is no future. Everybody now understands that a mobile device is something that has to go through a payment transaction, and that the content I'm consuming should be paid for. I understand in this country you have a huge issue with Naver. I know your problem with Naver. I think you can break free from those shackles, and you should be able to try to charge for content and break away from this stranglehold that Naver has had on your industry for so long. The objective, the benchmark globally for you to have a healthy business that is sustainable in the digital age is 40% of your revenue should come from readers. 40%. That's both for digital and for print. If it's not so, you really have no business model going forward. To make this transformation, I want to talk about Facebook. Because something has to be done about the stranglehold of social media, and all of our clients, all of global brands are taking a new position when it comes to Facebook, when it comes to Google. In the UK, it's called the break-in the duopoly. Facebook and Google have taken a stranglehold of the news business in terms of the revenue aspect of it, and this needs to be addressed definitively. This is a duopoly that we're foolishly fomenting. We have succumbed to their charm offensive. We have believed what they told us for decades. And just as I told you that everything that generates revenue should generate value, this is another big principle for the digital age. Money is made where the article is viewed. If you place it in Facebook, they will make the money. If you place it in Google, they will make the money. Everybody's moving away from this. The Wall Street Journal has moved away from this. The New York Times is reestablishing its relationship with Facebook. Because it's a toxic relationship. In addition to being dysfunctional, it's toxic. We're losing money and we're losing trust. I apologize for the photograph, but it's very, very telling that we're putting our content in a platform that is toxic, that is associated with false information. I call it click cocaine. We live in an age where the news business, the magazine business, has bought into this thing about getting clicks, getting volume. And the promise was if you have a lot of traffic, a lot of clicks, or look how many clicks he's got, he's successful, he's popular, that somehow the money would come. But this cocaine has been dealt to us by Facebook and Google, who I have nothing against. They're wonderful companies in what they do, and they build the internet, so they should be given credit. But we shouldn't really necessarily play by their rules and be in their platform for their sake commercially. Fraud is a huge issue with digital that is coming out. The third biggest source of organized crime in the world is ad fraud. Number one is illicit drugs, number two is counterfeiting, and bigger than cigarettes, fake cigarettes, is ad fraud. I've been to China recently and I filmed these click farms in China. You can be a politician anywhere and send them an email, pay $500, launch your campaign, and you will get 1 million clicks overnight. This is a click farm with individual IPs. This is another click farm I visited in Russia. Again, 1 million followers is only $250 in Russia. It's a big issue. It's not just me saying it, the CEO Uplift is saying it. It's a massive issue. And we are, unfortunately, putting our content associated with ad fraud, yes? In a perverse way, and in a very clever way, in a way, what's happening to us is that all this fake news that we're all scared about, and we're all writing about saying, oh, it's the end of journalism, is exactly the opposite. Fake news is saving journalism. Human beings, intrinsically, we seek the truth. And now we know we're being lied to. So as a result, we have a global phenomenon where people are willing to pay for quality journalism. People are subscribing, and they're willing to do so. There's so much content that is so bad out there that it's worth paying to cut through the rubbish. And this is the positioning that is saving newspapers and quality news and content magazines. When you actually tell readers, I'm in the business of credibility and telling the truth. But we need to stop playing defense. There's been a big attitude, a long attitude of defense when it comes to Google and Facebook. It's time to play offense. How do you do this? Well, you do this by essentially treating your site as a destination. Stop putting your content on social media platforms. And only serve appetizers if you must be on those platforms. And this is the global trend, the global innovation. Because the last thing you need is more visitors. That's the last thing you need. More traffic. To what end? What you need is paying customers. Paying customers share that content 10 times more than if you just get it for free. Because you paid for it. There's a psychological understanding that this has value because I'm willing to pay for it. So therefore, it must be believable. It must be trustworthy. Let me take you through the 14 business models quickly. Number one is obviously this one, the pay content publisher. The big innovation is people charging following the rule of three. So bundling print and digital as long as possible. The Economist has been doing this brilliantly, so has the Washington Post. The New Yorker has also made the transformation recently from basically having no reader revenue to 70% of the circulation coming from paid circulation from readers. And fantastic, our client Pam saying exactly how they undervalue themselves for so long. They lived in the world of clicks, and they've gotten out, and now they've got a sustainable business model in digital. But there's a problem out there. A lot of you are looking at reader revenue and asking, well, how should we start going about it? Should we have a paywall, a hard one, a freemium, a metered? Well, this is not the way to look at it. This is the big question that we need to answer as journalists. What content triggers a subscription? We as journalists, I'm a journalist, you as editors, we know very, very well how to generate traffic. What content generates traffic? And unfortunately, that appeals to the lowest common denominator in humanity. And you know what I'm talking about. But what content triggers a subscription? And that's a fascinating exercise we do with editors. We sit down with them and say, well, let's look at what you produce, and let's see what's worth paying for. And the insights are extraordinary, what comes out of it. Yes? So before you answer which method should I have to charge, you need to answer what content triggers a subscription. Do I have journalism worth paying for? And again, you don't need to stick to a model, a hard paywall, a metered, a freemium. The big innovation globally is called dynamic paywalls. These are flexible paywalls. One size does not fit all. Schibsted has been pioneering this in Sweden. And essentially, it's like yield software. The more demand that there is for a piece of journalism, you put it behind the wall. And this is a fluid situation. You're not just charging for everything outright. Number two business model is a publisher as an emotional advertiser. So now you have content worth paying for that is engaging. Emotional targeting is a big, big thing that goes beyond display ad revenue. You're matching a reader emotion with a piece of content. Let me show you how the New York Times is doing it with this article, for instance, on share. These are the different emotions that they're selling. And then they get an advertiser that wants to be associated with that reader experience, and they charge a premium of up to 40%. And that advertising has premium pricing as well. These are some of the emotions that they're selling, actually, to advertisers who want to see the readers. USA Today is doing it across its networks. It's called From Selling Demographics, which is click, click, volume, volume, blind audiences. We don't know who they are. But I'm trying to sell them through programmatic, through clicks, through CPMs, to selling psychographics. We can do this today, but you can only do it if you get people to go through a data wall. Not yet a paywall, but a data wall, you can sell psychographic advertising. ESPN is doing it as well. Number three business model is the publisher as a data broker. This is an example using Bitcoin and blockchain. This is Heart Media in Singapore. It's a high luxury magazine group, and they're actually using a Bitcoin. I know in South Korea you have huge amounts of people using Bitcoin. So they launched their own Bitcoin, and they're selling products, events, and merchandise and experiences that you can pay through Bitcoins with great success. Number four business model is the publisher as a club. Once you get to that stage of engagement of people paying, then people create what's called a club. A club, La Nación in Argentina, has been pioneering this for a long time. They've gotten 400,000 subscribers to the club. The club essentially works as a discount card, like a loyalty card, that you actually get discounts for, and the newspaper does a barter deal with those shops. So you go to Starbucks, you get a discount because you're a subscriber of La Nación. And the Starbucks gets advertising for free in your platforms. And this creates loyalty, and it's working extremely well for many brands. Number five business model, it's recommendation journalism done with credibility. The iconic strategist at New York Magazine, Wirecutter, the New York Times, this is journalism that gives you recommendations on products and services, and it's very successful. It started with Net-a-Porter, but now it's going global. T3 in Australia has turned it into a big business. And even the FT Weekend is doing it with the collectibles, this product. So it's click to buy with independent journalism. Yes. Number 6 business model is the publisher as a festival organizer. This is the event reinvented. So the great innovation here is the events now being turned into a multi-day event. Le Monde is doing it with this event called Le Monde Festival. It's about many things, rêver, to dream. Publico in Portugal is doing it as well. The FT is doing it as well, the luxury summit business. Yes. Number 7 business model is the publisher as a philanthropist. This is a very interesting new trend. Started with Mother Jones, a very liberal magazine in New York, and they've been able to sustain a business model based on this. And now it's obviously been turned into a big trend for a lot of newspapers. The most prominent one, the Salt Lake Tribune in America, has changed its status from a business to a charity, and it's changed its status with the IRS, and now it's actually become a charity charging for content as well, but also getting revenue from people and money from foundations. Number 8 business model is a publisher as an agency. This is where lots of publishers are building in-house advertising agencies to do branded content with great success. Number 9 business model, again, all these are in the book, is publishers selling cost per hour. Is the big migration from clicks to clocks. And this is a big idea. I don't have time to dwell into it, but this is a big one explained in the book. Stop selling CPM, which is cost per thousand, and is moving from page views to time spent. Number 10 business model, we have the publisher as a brand licensor. And this is one where once you've got a credible brand, you can actually sell experiences, awards, citations, rankings based on that business. Forbes has been pioneering this. They've launched all these businesses. All of these businesses are based on a second party doing it. Then we have National Geographic does travel shows, The Telegraph as well doing it with its travel solutions. And NRC, for instance, is now selling trips to America's political conventions where you get access to the Democratic Convention, to the Republican Convention, and you can meet some of the journalists. And that's 10,000 euros. Thank you very much. Number 11 business models, I have 3 to go, is the publisher as an IT provider. This has been pioneered by ARC at the Washington Post. This is now a $100 million business. Obviously, they have the advantage of having Amazon behind them. But here in Korea, you've developed a lot of leading technology with Kakao, for instance, and Junganilbo at the time, they had a tie-up. So selling that technology on your CMS, your CRM, your data management systems to other publishers is big business, and it can be done. And there's no reason why South Korea shouldn't lead the way on this. Number 12 is the publishers and investor. These are publishers that are investing in startups. They're using their office space, their broadband, and they're also using their marketing to promote some of these businesses. We had a client, El Tiempo in Colombia, that invested in the equivalent of Uber in Bogota. Now that company is valued at more than $2 billion, and this newspaper now has $200 million in its bank account as a result of this investment that they made following this criteria of investing in digital startups within the newsroom with editorial criteria. Number 13, and this is a very important and interesting one, is the publisher as an educator. And we're seeing places like the New York Times launching the School of the New York Times, and this is done in association with NYU. We're seeing it in many countries where a newspaper embodies the language of that country. So you're teaching best practice when it comes to speech. Le Monde is doing it, teaching French as a result of its credibility as the best spoken French, modern French in the world today. And the final business model is the publisher selling nostalgia, being a bit of a librarian, going back to its archives and selling it with great success. The Globe and Mail has already built a multi-million-dollar based on selling its news photo archive. Of course, they have a massive archive of the history of Canada. And where I come from, La Vanguardia in Barcelona, we have Dalí in Gaudí,
and a lot of books being sold about this whole thing. And the New York Times as well, selling you a photograph of Beirut from their archives for $150. Again, thank you very much. So you must aggressively expand 3-4 of these business models for you to have a sustainable one. But of course, you cannot grow, you cannot be sustainable in the digital age unless you get people to pay for your content, for your services, for your products. This is what we do at Innovation. We bring companies into this transformative dynamic to seek out the business models that will make sense based on journalism worth paying for. And look, just to conclude, there is no instant digital salvation. There are no digital miracles. If you want a miracle, you know what to do. Only journalism will save journalism. Journalism worth paying for. It's as simple and as complicated as that. And I think before I let you go, it's important to reflect on what journalism really means. And journalism worth paying for is journalism published without fear or favor. And as George Orwell said, journalism is to publish something that someone does not want published. The rest is public relations. I think it's a wonderful definition. And not to publish something that someone doesn't want published, you know, in scurrilous ways, in scandalous ways, but because it's the truth. And because our role is to hold power to account, to give the voice to those who have no voice, and to hold those who want to make our nations, our societies, tyrannical. That's journalism. So only journalism will save journalism, journalism worth paying for. 감사합니다.
Thank you. 하실 말씀이 많으실 것 같아서
And I believe he has a lot to deliver, so I gave additional 10 minutes, but actually he used additional 15 minutes regarding the media innovation. Actually, he delivered 14 different models. We wanted to hear more, but time is limited. So rather than the devices, and actually the journalism should focus on contents based on the accurate and reliable contents, and journalism can survive. So actually we have discussions about the role of media to meet interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. And he introduced media innovation report. So this report, about 40 copies of this report has been sent to us. So at the end of this meeting, we are going to distribute this report. This report has more detailed information, so please do refer to this. We are going to invite our second panelist. Well, he is from Serbia. So, when it comes to the media and advertisement, he has a great insight. So let's invite Professor Frederick Wilboik. So, meaningful the contents and the messages can be delivered in various channels. So regarding this topic, we are going to hear from our second panelist.
박수로 좀 맞아주시기 바랍니다.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him with a big hands.
So we are supposed to squeeze our time, if I understood correctly, because we are having a lunch. 12:30. First of all, I want to thank the organizers, Universal Peace Federation, South Korea, Seoul, for having me here. I'm really enjoying to be part of the conference, also part of the organization. As moderator said, I'm a university professor, and I will try to speak from the several levels, but I'll more speak about as the communication specialist that is in charge of the public relations agency founded 20 years ago, not as big as APCO worldwide, but efficient enough to get the World Best Award for Public Relations after 10 years of our work in 2002. And thirdly, I'll speak as the Universal Peace Federation Peace Ambassador, appreciating a lot the values, character, and philosophy of this important organization. So 42 years ago, there was a first media conference, and now after a lot of time, we are redeveloping International Media Association for Peace, and things have changed a lot in these 42 years. This thing has changed a lot in the media sphere, besides news agencies, television, radio, print media. Now we have a lot of social media and online media that are rather influenced, especially for the young generations, millennials and the Z generation, not using at all now mass media. They are, according to the researches that we are doing, they are using just online media. So speaking about the media content, the thing has changed a lot. There are a lot of researchers and a lot of media associations defining many problems in media now. And speaking about the processes that are going on all around the world, the media tends now to become tabloids because of the huge commercialization of the media. There are more tabloids now than the, let's say, regular media. And there is always the problem when we are speaking about the problems in media, about the media professionalism, professional ethics. According to the last research of the European Federation for Journalism, the biggest problem is now a lot of hate speech in the media. And now a lot of media associations are now trying to define the more proactive approach in facing these challenges that the media are having now. So there are a lot of problems in the ethical sphere and professional standards. In my country, in the Balkan Peninsula, there are a lot of problems now with the media freedom. And the media are rather influenced now with the companies, but most also with the political and parties, leaders, and trying to influence a lot of the media. And now in this situation, what we could do to have this proactive approach in the media. Now I'll speak more like as the communication specialist. There is a simple formula in the communication in public relations. It's called I is equal I, meaning that ideally is that you communicate your activities, that the people will see you as you are. The image should be the same as your identity. And from the communication point of view, Universal Peace Federation has a lot to do, and it could do a lot in promoting its values. What is UPF identity, since we should speak a little bit about the UPF as well? Nothing else but the good principles, core values such as family values, character education. These are the main principles, and also these are the communication that should be produced during our activities. This also should become the media issues, rather important media issues, since these are the social problems, not only the problems of the organization, but worldwide. So family values, character education, health society, living in the sake of others, philosophy, in developing local community relations, everlasting peace, intercultural and multiculturalism are the main issues. And I'm sure that majority of stakeholders, UPF stakeholders, would become partners if we define this as the media issues, as the communication goals. So this principle should unite all the stakeholders for the partnership in promoting these values, promoting differences and appreciating, even cherishing dialogue. as the communication expert, I'm glad that communication science has the same principle as the UPF. Dialogue, appreciation of others, living in the sake of others should become also the model of efficient communication. Empathy is ability needed for the efficient communication. Empathy is understanding and appreciating the feeling, attitudes, habits of the others. So, speaking about the Universal Peace Federation is the communication by itself. UPS is the bridge of different religions, cultures, nations, habit, even political programs. Let me, at the end, say a few words about the International Media Association for Peace. So, as said, I'm even working in several of media associations in ex-Yugoslavia, in Serbia, in Croatia, and the others. And all of these media associations have using similar methodology in working. So they are analyzing problems, defining what are the problems, defining the code of ethics and procedures, but not doing much in promoting. They are not having proactive approach. I'm sure that International Media Association for Peace should be more proactive. And as said before, there are a lot of stakeholders that could become partners, the other media associations, government institutions, Ministry of Education, in promoting character education, a lot of NGOs, medias, of course, could become partners in developing media activities, communication activities, having so-called media management model of media issue management model, and having them as the partners in these activities. I'm sure that a lot of could be done. I'm believing in the International Media Association for Peace, and I'm sure that we are now entering the new phase of our activities that could help not only to the Universal Peace Federation, not only to the lot of our Universal Peace Federation peace ambassadors, but to help the others in trying to find, to do the solutions for a lot of problems in the world. And I'm ready with a lot of Universal Peace Federation peace ambassadors to help to the organization in achieving these goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 부요비치 교수님께서도 역시 그 가치에 관해서 주로 말씀을 해주셨는데요. 특히 그 UPF의 평화, 가족의 가치 이런 것들을 널리 알릴 수 있는 또 언론의 역할, NGO의 연대를 포함해가지고 아까 IMF 우리 마지막 세션에 있는 언론인 연합 출범 의미에 대해서도 좀 언급해 주셨습니다. 감사합니다. 세 번째 패널은 유야 와타베 워싱턴 타임스 재팬 이그제큐티브 디렉터이십니다. 그 퍼블릭 폴리시 분야에서 굉장히 전문가이시고 글로벌 프리덤 무브먼트를 풀뿌리 운동 차원에서 지속적으로 해오셨습니다. 오늘은 특히 이 SNS를 통해서 선거운동에 많이 활용이 되고 있는데 그런 문제점에 대해서 지적을 해주실 예정입니다.
저는 와다세유야라고 합니다. 존프웨프 개수분이다. ここから日本語で話をさせていただければと思います。本日は貴重な機会にお招きいただきましてありがとうございます。
Thank you very much for inviting me today.
ワシントンタイムズジャパンが
inaugurating the Washington Times Japan in collaboration with many people who are sitting here in order to distribute the right, correct information about the United States. In Japan, the innovation in the media has also caused great changes in the society, especially in the political field. it has a significant impact. My job originally was related to the elections, and let me say a little bit about it. The Japanese election laws, individual candidates are now able to utilize internet facilities. This changed the situation where the mass media, the bigger media, dominated the situation, radically changed. Through internet, candidates can emit their opinions so freely, and people also can receive information directly from the candidates. This change is a welcome situation. In general, ordinary people can share the expert opinions, and the standard of the ordinary people have improved dramatically thanks to these innovations. Also, several parties are analyzing the big data online. This has also changed the situation. Different political parties, the political powers are able to improve their standing, and their efforts, if they are based on correct information, is highly welcome. However, in Japan also there are so many fake news appearing on the line. Particularly in Japan, the former ministers, former members of the parliament, professors, and those authoritative people are causing quite a few fake news that causes divisions among peoples and conflicts in society. For example, exclusive demands or causing fears or anxieties or are distributed and causing divisions among the ordinary people. This kind of trend is prevalent regardless of their liberal or conservative perceptions, and they are also distributed online to those people who are not well internet literate. They are senior people. There are not fake news which are not well sourced, but authoritative people are causing big impacts negatively through their fake news, disinformation, because they use the names of the authoritative people continuously again and again, and therefore the ordinary people cannot doubt their opinions or views or information. This is a big problem now in Japan, and therefore when journalists examine the fake news or their sources are very vital to correct the media situation in Japan. Furthermore, let me tell you one proposal or suggestion. On the internet environment, we need some ethical standards, internet standards, and to promote this kind of guidelines. The good journalism is a good business, somebody said earlier. I believe so. And to create the good receivers, good customers, to present good facts, not refraining from excessive exaggerations, to raise the standard of the quality of information, and so that people can be trained to receive information properly. This is really the task of journalists. You guys can do this kind of educational impact upon ordinary people. That's my view. Now, this kind of distribution of fake news by the authoritative, well-known people we have to stop it. We have to correct this situation by raising up the standards of the receivers as well as the distributors. So by providing the standards, the rules, and the norms of conduct, we can raise the quality of information circulation. Media must constitute the receivers as well as distributors or senders. So both sides have responsibilities or shares of responsibilities. I really wish that good quality of journalism and good quality of receivers will contribute to a better society, and I want to be part of that kind of social activities. Thank you very much for your attention.
So thank you so much. The mayor of Seoul, the metropolitan city, Park Won-soon, actually worried about the fake news about new coronavirus. And our panelists actually will deliver the similar messages because of the fake news, and there are created controversy in Japan. And I believe this fake news is not only limited to Korea and Japan. Across the world, we have our same problems and issues. So international professional code is required. And at the last session, we are going to have this special declaration. So we are going to discuss this further in the last session. As our last panelist, we are going to invite Ms. Vera Lucia Tavati. So she is from Brazil. She is a president of a Brazilian Association of Press and Electronic Media. So she has the decades of experience in media industry. So how the media platform is evolving in Brazil. So well, today Portuguese is not provided. The translation is not well translated in simultaneous way, so this will be interpreted in consecutive way. Please welcome her with applicants.
Eu quero agradecer em primeiro lugar toda a organização desse evento, dizer que é um privilégio, uma honra estar participando desse importante tema.
First of all, I want to say thank you so much for being here. For me, it's really a big privilege to be part of this wonderful event.
Sou jornalista há 40 anos, presidente da Associação Brasileira de Imprensa de Mídia Eletrônica, e estamos muito empenhados com a paz mundial.
I'm a journalist for the last 4 years in Brazil, like pioneering. And we're really fighting every single day to be the best journalist.
Gratidão ao reverendo Moon, doutora Haki Moon.
So grateful to Reverend Myung Moon and Dr. Hajak Moon.
Dr. Thomas Walsh.
And Dr. Thomas Walsh.
Relações Públicas da UPF. Senhora Elisa Ferreira, que está coordenando toda a comitiva brasileira para esse evento.
And Mrs. Elisa, who is the Director of Public Relationship in Brazil, who is trying to bring the whole delegation here in Korea.
A professora Onani, professora Júlia.
Professor Onanin and Professor Julia, who is working together with Mrs. Moon.
Os presidentes Onan e Koichi Sasaki. E presidente da UPF no Brasil, Dr. Simão Ferraboli.
And our national leader, who is Dr. President Koich and his wife Sandra Onan, and Dr. Simão, who is the president of UPF in Brazil.
Eu agradeço muito a chance de expor algumas ideias nesta conferência de mídia mundial, representando o meu país, o Brasil.
I want to thank you so much the chance to present some idea at this World Media Conference representing my country, Brazil.
A mídia tem um papel importante na comunicação entre os seres humanos e a falta de comunicação traz desentendimentos, semeia ressentimentos e guerras, e isto é válido em nível individual e nível de Estado.
As you know, the media has a very important role in our society in the communication between human beings. The lack of communication brings disagreement and resentment, even wars.
Nós ainda precisamos.
This is true as an individual and even on the worldwide level.
Nós ainda precisamos aprender a nos comunicar.
That's why we still need to learn how to communicate.
Bem, hoje o tema nosso para a exposição é Estado da Indústria de Mídia e o impacto da inovação disruptiva.
The main point in our conference today is to show about the state of media industry and the impact of disruptive innovation.
Esse é um fenômeno pelo qual uma inovação transforma um mercado e setor existente através da introdução de simplicidade, conveniência, acessibilidade em empresas onde a comunicação e o alto custo são status quo.
This is a phenomenon by which an innovation transforms an existing market or sector through the introduction of simplicity, convenience and accessibility in company where complication and high cost are the status.
Quando um nicho de mercado já está defasado ou se mantém numa constante, sem crescimento e sem novidades, e parece desinteressante e irrelevante, é surpreendido por um novo produto ou ideia.
When a market is already out of date or remain constant without growth or without news and seem interesting or irrelevant, it is surprised by a new product or idea which completely redefines the industry. And in that context, disruptive innovation takes place.
Os computadores pessoais já foram disruptivos.
Personal computers were once disruptive.
Um exemplo clássico é o computador pessoal. Antes da chegada dos primeiros PCs, os mainframes prevaleciam na indústria da computação. Eles custavam muito caro e era preciso ter experiência em engenharia para operá-los.
A classic example is the personal computer. Before the arrival of the first PC, mainframes were prevalent in the computing industry. They were very expensive and you had to have engineering experience to operate them.
A Apple, uma das pioneiras da computação pessoal, começou a vender seus primeiros computadores no fim de 1970 a 1980, como um brinquedo para crianças. Neste ponto, o produto não era bom o suficiente para competir com os mainframes, mas os clientes da Apple não se importavam, porque eles não podiam pagar pelos grandes computadores.
Apple, one of the pioneers in personal computing, started selling its first computer in the late 1970s, but as a toy for children. At that point, the product was not good enough to compete with mainframes, but Apple customers didn't care because they couldn't afford big computers.
Assim, o PC era muito menor do que os de alternativa, nada, e pouco a pouco a inovação foi sendo melhorada. E dentro de alguns anos, o computador pessoal menor e mais acessível, que o tornou bom e suficiente para que ele pudesse fazer o trabalho exigido anteriormente pelos mainframes.
Yeah, that's why it was much better than its alternative. Nothing little by little, innovation has been improved, and within a few years, the personal computer, smaller and more accessible, became good enough that it could do the work previously required by mainframe. From there, a huge market appeared, which finally replaced the big computers.
É importante lembrar que a ruptura é uma força positiva. Inovações disruptivas não são avanços de tecnologia que fazem bons produtos melhores. Ao contrário, são inovações que tornam os produtos e serviços mais acessíveis e baratos, tornando-os disponíveis a uma população muito maior.
It's important to remember that rupture is a positive force. Disruptive innovation are not advances in technology that make good product better. On the contrary, there are innovations that make product and service more accessible and cheaper, making them available to a much larger population. The three elements of disruption.
Como vimos, simplicidade, conveniência e acessibilidade são os pilares para uma inovação seja considerada disruptiva. Vamos entender um pouco mais e por que isso acontece.
As we have seen, simplicity, convenience and accessibility are the main point for an innovation to be considered. Let's understand a little bit more why this happened.
Acessibilidade. A nova solução precisa ser adotada com facilidade pela sociedade, tanto em questão de preço quanto de usabilidade. Se ficar restrita a um pequeno grupo, ele não é capaz de transformar.
So first of all is accessibility. The new solution needs to be easily adopted by society, both in terms of price and useful. It is restricted to a small group and then it won't be able to transform.
Tome a impressora 3D como exemplo. Em 2007, os preços da tecnologia chegavam ao patamar de $40 mil, mas hoje existem modelos de apenas $100. Embora seja revolucionária a solução, só é capaz de transformar mercados se for incorporada pela maior parte dos usuários.
Take an example of the 3D printer as an example. In 2007, technology price reached the price of $40,000, but today there are models to only $100. It is really revolutionary. The solution is only able to transform market and it is incorporated for the most part of users.
Outro elemento importante é a conveniência.
The second point is the convenience.
Inovações são disruptivas, quando capazes de solucionar problemas reais das pessoas. Elas devem promover o bem-estar.
So, convenience. Another important factor is the convenience. Innovation are disruptive when they are capable of solving people's real problem. They must promote well-being.
Outro fator importante, simplicidade. A simplicidade é o último pilar. Tenha certeza de que um design é algo mais importante do que imaginamos para a aceitação de uma inovação e, consequentemente, para o seu potencial disruptivo.
Another important factor is the convenience. The Segway is a good example for us to understand convenience. The product is a motorized two-wheels. What's a pull-over? It's turned out that the invention faced a number of obstacles.
Uma boa ilustração nesse caso são os laserdisc. Eles foram os primeiros discos ópticos com leitura de vídeo a serem lançados, 20 anos antes do DVD. Acontece que não eram nada práticos, pois tinham o tamanho de vinis. Além de serem muito frágeis, resultado por conta disso, não foram bem recepcionados pelos consumidores.
A good illustration in this case are laser discs. They were the first optical disc with video reading to be released 20 years before the DVD. It turned out that they were not all practical as they were the size of vinyl, in addition to being very fragile. Result, because of this, they were not well received by consumers.
Esperamos que todos esses aspectos, juntos, possamos dar sugestões positivas para melhorar as formas de comunicação e minimizar os impactos negativos que ela pode produzir sobre nossas vidas.
We hope that all these experts together, we can give positive suggestions to improve the way of communication and to minimize the negative impact that it can have on our life. We have to learn to keep the immutable and to work correctly with what can and must be changed.
Muito obrigada mais uma vez pela oportunidade e espero que a gente, como jornalistas, possamos participar das inovações de comunicação e promover a paz no mundo. Muito obrigada.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I hope that we can be the journalists who can improve our mission.
네, 감사합니다. 이 교차 통역이 진행되다 보니까 조금 시간이 좀 늦었습니다. 원래는 저희가 이 모든 세션이 이 토론이 끝나고 Q&A를 이제 진행을 해야 되는데요. 시간이 많지 않고 바로 또 점심시간에서 많이들 배고프실 것 같습니다. 그래도 오늘 이 첫 번째 세션에서 좀 이 질문은 반드시 해야 되겠다고 하시는 분이 있으면 손을 들어서 주시면 저희가 저희 스태프들이 마이크를 준비를 하겠습니다. 혹시 있으신지요? 다들 배고프신 것 같습니다. 질문이 없으신 것 같은데 지금 패널 분들이 계속 계시니까 점심 식사 시간이나 아니면 이후 세션 중에서라도 혹시 궁금하신 점이 있으면 좀 개별적으로 질문을 해주실 수 있을 것 같습니다. 제가 급하게 말씀드리느라고 마지막 그 타박 대표께서 말씀하신 거 잠깐 제가 놓쳤는데요. 타박 대표께서는 커뮤니케이션의 중요성과 이것을 전달하기 위해서 저희 미디어가 새로운 시대 흐름에 맞춰서 끊임없이 변화해야 된다는 그 당위성을 설명을 해주셨습니다. 우리 그 첫 번째 세션에서는 처음에 세니로 대표께서 말씀하신 대로 굿 저널리즘에 대해서 일관되게 모든 분들이 뉴스의 가치를 강조를 해주셨던 것 같습니다. 저희가 미디어의 혁신이지만 굿 저널리즘이야말로 가장 most innovative한 게 아닐까 그런 생각을 합니다. 그러면 첫 번째 세션을 여기서 마치겠습니다. 점심 식사에 대한 안내 방송을
박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 네, 좌장을 맡아주신 황정미 부사장 겸 편집인님께도 감사드리겠습니다. 자, 지금부터 아까 말씀하신 대로 식사가 이렇게 제공이 됩니다. 도시락으로 저희가 앉은 자리에 그대로 계시면 저희 여기 관계자분들이 도시락을 아마 전달드릴 겁니다. 도시락을 드시고요. 세션 2는 1시 반 정도부터 시작이니까 도시락 드시고 화장실 좀 다녀오신 다음에 1시 반 정도에 시작하는 걸로 아시고 다시 돌아오셔서 자리에 앉으시면 되겠습니다. 그러면 아주 맛있게 도시락 드시기 바랍니다. Enjoy your meal and I'll be back.
Enjoy your meal. I'll be back shortly.